Let's get it started in here.
Are you ready now?
Oh,
Yeah,
I,
singing.
I
Do
was. I've
the.
been ready. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
is that
I
is
thought
that
we
the
were
start?
going.
No. We are going, but I've got to start it out with the whole intro and stuff like
I
that.
mean, you can't always be serious. I mean, like they gotta know you can joke. I mean, it's not. You can
No. It's
be
all
a
serious.
nice
There's
joking person and be a
no
sovereign man.
joking, no joking
None
whatsoever.
whatsoever.
Not allowed to joke. No, there's nothing
Really?
funny. Yeah,
That's
life
harsh.
not funny. Nothing.
I don't. I don't think I'll be able to do that.
No, well,
I don't think I can commit.
just gotta work on it. That's all. Just gotta work on. No funny, no joke, no nothing.
All right.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another episode of the Nap Bros podcast. This is, I'm saying, episode 5. Hopefully. Uh, it's
It's five
probably, yeah. You know what? It
because
might
we
be
had
6, actually.
intro. We had chapter threes.
It might
I
actually be
think
6,
it's
though.
okay. Let's just go. Who cares?
We'll just, okay, well, let's do
You,
this.
how about this? How about you do it like this? It's chapter 5, and I'll be like, "Welcome to chapter 6 or episode 6," and then you can just edit out whichever one works.
Yeah. We'll just say, you know what? Welcome into Nap Bros podcast. We're glad you're here. Today, we're looking at Sovereignty, chapter 4. Talking about part
Well,
2,
let's
which
back
is the
up.
mission.
Yeah. Okay. Sovereignty,
Yeah.
section 2, chapter 4. Gotcha.
Yeah. So part 2, the mission, and chapter 4, which is one of the core missions to protect. So Andrew, if you want to take the summary of what this entails.
Hmm. I don't know. Let's see. What I take it as entailing, or let's see. So, of course, men have an obligation, protecting not just the family, but also individuals. Just people that can't protect themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how you do that, and it points out in the book too, like not just we're not saying that it should just be men, but that's men's goal. Like they've always been the protectors, the providers, and that's kind of like what we missed chapter 4 or whatever. But anyways, Chinese proverb that states in the book is better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war. What that means is, a lot of times we're running around, walking around, not really paying attention, not really noticing what's going on around us. We're all so intertwined with our own lives, our own responsibilities, what's going on in our own head, we're not paying attention. So if we're not paying attention to our situation, we're not aware of what's going on around us, how can we react? And then one step further is, if you're not ready to react, if you're not able to defend yourself, if you're not able to handle yourself in that kind of situation, then what does it even matter if you know what the situation is? Um, of course, I know there's different people that have different ideas of what you need for life. As far as protection, some people don't believe in weapons as like guns and stuff, but you know, knowing how to use one would be just as good as not having one. I mean, you don't have to own a gun, but if you know how to use one, that makes you so much better.
Mm.
Um, so for me though, I'm just gonna stop right there. I'm gonna pause. Of course, you and I both know how to operate weapons. You and I both know. I feel like I'm pretty perceptive. Like if I walk in somewhere, I'm not necessarily looking for like any kind of danger, so to speak, but just noticing your surroundings. You walk and you see something, pay attention. Make a mental note of it. Not walking in somewhere with your phone out the whole time.
Mm.
Taking. There's a time to be on your phone, but the point he's making is, if you're not paying attention, how quickly can you respond to something? You know.
Right.
The other thing is readiness. That goes with the whole gun situation. I own a plethora of guns. Not necessarily saying you have to have it, but at the same time, there's still places that I don't have a weapon. Even if I do carry a weapon on me, there's places where I don't have one. And so now I've gone a step further. And, I've told you this, of course, Nick, but now I'm starting to take jujitsu also.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually, Ryan Mickler, the guy that wrote this book, that's his biggest thing too. And it really is, there's nothing like it. It's you on the ground against a man or woman. There's 3 or 4 women in this group too. And you're just fighting for domination. You're trying to put them down and keep them down, so to speak. Now, granted, I'm
Okay.
2 days. I'm 2 days in, literally 2 days in. I hurt everywhere, but that's the point. It's getting your mindset trained. You're making yourself aware of the situation, and then you're getting ready for it. The
Mm-hmm.
fitness of it. I think for me, he states in there, can you run? If you're not fit, how you can fight somebody? For me,
Mm-hmm.
like I've never felt me personally have not been unfit. Like I can go run a mile. Okay, run's a strong term. I can make it through a mile in about 11 minutes.
Okay.
You know, the laps at the gym, I can do that in about 11 minutes. It's not terribly fast, but by God, 11 minutes, I'm gonna get a mile down the road.
Yeah. Well, and that's like one of so like going into that mindset of like where he's talking about protecting and making sure that A, you're self aware or situationally aware, B, are you ready, and then C, are you like are you proficient in weaponry basically, like can you handle yourself around either guns or like bows and arrows or whatever type of weaponry
I
can
don't
you
think he mentioned
handle.
bows and arrows.
Well, he didn't mention bows and arrows, but I mean, I just kind of like took it as kind of that, like not only like you know paying attention to what's around you, but also, yeah, like you were saying, where physical fitness in that your body is prepared for whatever it is, whatever may happen, and also your mind is prepared for whatever may happen, so that you can handle what's coming down the line. Um, but then he brings in guns and being prepared, and especially in the states, like because like here in China, that's not really a big thing. Actually, that's not a thing at all. Because there are people I'm sure who can get their hands on guns illegally, but it's much 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 more controlled here. Uh, but it's still like you hear about like knifing attacks, and like on a subway, and so it is being situationally aware, even though the guns are not as prevalent as they are in the states, that there's still people who may not have the mentality, the right cognitive ability, and may decide that they want to use a knife in order to attack. So yeah, I mean that's a big thing.
Right, absolutely. Um, Back to that Chinese proverb, it's kind of like the biggest thing is your mindset too. You're not
Mm-hmm.
itching for a fight. You're not
Mm.
looking. I'm not sitting here stepping out of my way to cause trauma. It's the fact that um, you, you kind of train yourself to just be aware of that. I forget what the quote is, but uh, uh, what is the quote? It's basically a is it a violent man is I don't know. It's something to do with violence. I'll look it up real quick. But basically, it's stating that you know, even though you're presented with something, does not make you a hard man or a capable man. But more to that point, it goes back to just being prepared.
Yeah,
I don't know how you
yeah,
feel about that.
yeah. Yeah. um, what do you think that means in relationship to like being presented with something? You mean just like if you're faced with some kind of difficulty, kind of thing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, any kind of difficulty. You're like, you know, uh, walking down the street. If you see a situation, you shouldn't be in that situation almost, if that makes sense. You know, like you're aware of the issues before they even arise, you know, and that's what
Hmm.
you want. You want to skirt away from them, you know.
Hmm. Hmm. I think one of the but I would say this. So I think the idea here, well, because I don't know. Talking about going down the street, because I don't know if that is like you don't you mean like don't put yourself into like specifically go and look for violent situations like places where you have to be where physical confrontation or some kind of confrontation excuse me, where physical confrontation is going to be the biggest thing, like something's going to happen. You're like, oh, okay, I need to physically confront this. Like I need to fight. I need to use violence in this particular case. Not looking for that. Like not going out and hunting for it. Not going out and searching for that. But walking down the street, sometimes there may be stuff going on, and I think for him, like one of the interesting things, it's kind of an interesting aspect of it is that he presents being a protector as not something just for yourself, not something just for you to be violent with, but more so that you are actually using well, not just in protection, but also like in the other ones, like some of the stuff that he was talking about is that this is the idea of serving others with your abilities as a man.
Yeah,
Being
not just your family, but just people in general. Like you can be
well,
a
definitely your
protector of
family
more than just one
more than just
family
yourself,
member. Yeah, right, right.
and yeah, and more than just your family. And so, going out and doing the things that, like, if you see some kind of danger or some kind of situation that could cause you harm or other people harm, being aware of that and also being prepared to defend against that. Being kind of along those lines. And I kind of enjoyed his when he was quoting that other guy who has the codes for like your situational awareness, like Patrick
Oh yeah,
Van
yeah, yeah.
Horn, where you've got the color code. Where like white is you're just completely unaware, and I don't think he ever expects you to be in white. I think that that's kind of like, and I think our dad has raised us to like be aware of things around us. And I don't know if that's just because we like gained it from him. I don't know if it's something that he brought us up doing, but like just always being in a yellow where we're like, okay, we're relaxed, but we're also alert. We're like, okay, we know that there's stuff going on, like, and we're paying attention, but not in a confrontational way. And then he goes to so white, unprepared, unaware, nothing. Yellow, relaxed, alert. There's not a threat immediate. There's not an immediate threat, but you're paying attention. Orange is where there is a threat, or there's something that's not quite right. And then red is where something is happening and you are either on offense or you're on defense, depending on how progressed the situation has become. And so,
Right.
like, there have been times even here in China where like I've been at Orange, mainly because maybe there's somebody who has like some mental problems. And here in China, like the challenge of if you have got a mental problem, chances are you're shunned by society, and so but you're still out in society, and so you know, you're we're in a subway car and someone walks on and they're acting like weird or like slapping themselves or they're like, doing something, and you're just like, or like yelling, and like that's when you go to orange and you're like, okay, something's not right. I'm not needing there's no imminent threat right now. Like I don't need to go on defense right now or on offense right now, but I am incredibly aware and I'm paying attention to what's happening. And like it's it's kind of being in that, like, where you're not paranoid, you're just, again, prepared, you're ready, you know that if something goes wrong, you are prepared to, like, fight against it if need be. So yeah.
So much of society nowadays is like, it's not okay to be violent. It's not okay to be a man. We've talked about this before, but it's not.
Hmm.
And, like I said before, it's not, I'm talking just, hey, full out aggression, violence. It's more or less you keeping what you need to under control until you need it.
Mm.
And so that was the quote I was thinking of. It's a Jordan Peterson. It said, "A
Oh.
harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very dangerous man who has it under voluntary control." And that's what I'm
Mm.
saying. Like you're mentally, you're physically, everything's prepared for what ifs.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're out there just being belligerent and jerk about it. Some other words I was thinking, but if the need arose, you're there for it. You're gonna answer accordingly.
Yeah. And like, one of the interesting things that he also brings up, later on, is this idea of like bullying, where right now, because, like, I mean, like, where I teach at, the high school that I teach at, they've got a poster that says, oh, okay, like, when is it bullying, and so, like, then it's like gives you like four different quadrants. It's like, if everyone's laughing and there's a joke, it's not bullying. If it's maybe a one-time outburst where one person gets angry, which happens, I mean, of course. And then there's another one that, I forget what the other one is. I have no idea what the third quadrant is. It's not really that important. But then the fourth one is where it's over consistent behavior, and it's like, this is bullying. You shouldn't do this. But it's like they're trying to appeal to the bully. But no, I don't know about here, because I haven't really seen it here in China very much. But generally here in China, I'll say this: they're most people are kind of passive, in that if something is happening, if there's some kind of, like, disruption, some kind of, like, issue, some kind of, like, argument or whatever, most people will just walk on by, because in their mind it's just none of their business. There's no reason for them to get involved. It's something else happening. Like, that's their business. And there can be some benefit to that, where, like, if I think it's more of, like, trying not to be embarrassing, like trying not to embarrass the people who are in that. Like, if a woman is yelling at a man, or the man is yelling at a woman, that kind of thing. But the problem that leads into is if that turns into physical violence, where the man is hitting the woman or the woman is hitting the man, or the boys are hitting each other. When it turns into a physical thing, generally, again, they're very passive about it. There's they don't really step into it. And so that kind of, it's like an appeal to the bully. As we're in the U.S., there's a whole system that kind of protects the bully, where it's like, okay, well, we're going to say you shouldn't be a bully, but we're not going to actually
Punish you for it
give
because
with
someone
what.
else broke you. They don't want to punish them. Like they don't want to say it's their fault for being a bully.
Right, right. They don't want to say, "Hey, like, this is,"
Circumstances put you that way or something like that.
and also they don't want to honor someone stepping in and preventing the bully from being a bully. Like, if someone comes in and, like, clocks the bully in the face for being a bully, or protects the other person by, like, shoving the bully, or doing something to protect whoever's being picked on, generally, if that turns into, like, some kind of violence, some kind of, like, physical violence, then generally that person who does the protecting also gets into trouble. And it's like, this is sending that message of, like, you know, don't protect, but it's okay to be a bully. Like, we're not gonna, like, beat you down for being a bully, but if you protect somebody from being bullied, we're gonna, stop you from doing that, because we're not allowed to be violent, and be protecting. But it's like bullies are being violent, and if you're just allowing them to run rampant, there's this issue. And so I think, I don't know, like for me personally, like thinking in my mind, like not having any children right now, but thinking like when I do have children and like
So
teaching them how to protect themselves.
and that this here's my thing right here. So I don't know how true this is or not. Of course, at this point in my life, I've not seen my kids or heard from my wife or soon to be ex in over a month now because,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the reason is, not to get in details, but
Yeah.
somebody approached me. Um, I'm not going to name names. Somebody approached me and told me about an incident they heard that had happened with a 15-year-old Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Our oldest son. I've been there so long, he's my son too. Um, Talking about bullying. So apparently, the rumor has it that Hunter had his football gear peed in by the other
Wow.
football players.
Wow.
Football helmet, football pads. And so my point is this, they went to the school system, from what I understand, the mom and dad, Wilma and her ex-husband went to the school system. They're like, they need to be punished for it. Well, they're not. Supposedly, they're not going through a punishment, right? They're not going to
Mm-hmm.
punish them. Um, you know, so they're like, well, we're going to sue you. And, it goes to that point, and it's partially my fault, but at the same time, it's not my fault too, in the sense of like, I kind of had to have a hands off with my stepson. It's like he needs to go in there and assert his position. That's what they're saying. You're saying like, well, we're protecting the person that bullied them. We're
Mm-hmm.
not going to punish them. So, you know, the biggest thing is like, yes, it's not okay to be bullying them. And half the time, if Hunter's been bullied before, the solution was Wilma would go down there and make a big scene about it with the kid and their parents, or move them out of the school. And that's what I heard they're going to do. They're actually going to move him out of the.
Okay.
And I've told Hunter before. Listen, if somebody's doing something wrong to you, deal with it. You know, deal with it. Because especially in the moment. In the moment, if I don't know if you saw it, if you're standing, and like I said, this could all just be made up stuff. But the point is, like, that is a key factor. You're waiting on a system to do something that they will not do
Yeah.
because it's singling somebody out. It's not his fault. Yes, it is his fault or their fault. They chose to do that. They need to pay for it. And I'm not saying it's okay for my son to go hit him. No, okay, I get it. There's that line there. But the point is, like, you know, he's waiting on other people to fight his battle.
Yeah.
And that's what Ryan Mickler says. Sometimes on the ball on the playground, someone pushes you down. No, that boy's gonna keep doing it till somebody stands up to him and hits him, no matter what the school does to him
Yeah.
or whoever does to him. It's almost like you have to meet that conflict in order to just change. Pure physics. An object in motion stays in motion until met with an equal opposite force. And that's all it is. It's like this bully's on one way path,
Mm-hmm.
destruction. And until he's stood up to and put back in his place, nobody's gonna do nothing about it. It's just gonna keep on going.
Yeah. Especially if it's like, okay, like I see my action, I see that there's no reaction. So why not just continue doing what I'm doing? And
Exactly. And I don't know
yeah,
how many kids it was, honestly. Like I don't and like I said, it may not be true. I really don't know.
yeah.
It's just all hearsay from another source.
Now, one thing that like as Christians that I kind of like feel is a little challenging in that particular sense is like I it's difficult for me mentally to kind of balance between what what Mickler is presenting as like being violent when necessary and like kind of this mindset of Jesus. And I'm not saying so don't hear what I'm not saying. Like when like if someone is like attacking my wife, okay, if that ever happens, like obviously I'm going to go in and protect her and I need to be violent in that scenario. If someone is attacking my, Lord willing, future children, I'm going to go in and I'm going to, depending on who that person is. Like if it's another child attacking my child, I'll probably just go in and like put an arm in and like try and like separate them. But if someone is like older and attacking my child, then it's going to be a more violent confrontation. Um, and so with that, like I'm not saying that, but it's difficult for me to kind of like connect that to like us trying to be like Jesus as Christians, but then also like being, I don't want to say men of violence, but being able to do that. And I'm not saying like not being prepared, because even in my mind, like this idea of physical fitness, like being prepared physically to do things, period. Because like he doesn't just bring up like being able to violently attack somebody who's attacking your family or someone else, like, but he also brings up being able to run away from an active shooter, being able like physically be able to get away, being able to lift something off of your wife if something falls on her because you are physically strong and able to do that. And so like all of these different mindsets, but it's difficult to reconcile the way that I see Jesus and the way that I think Mickler wants us to be. It's a little challenging for me mentally. I'm not, again, not saying, because like with Jesus it seems like it's more of a battle against the spiritual, and that there's spiritual forces that are at work. And with Mickler, it kind of feels like no, this is a physical thing. Like that bully definitely has some spiritual issues going on, and it might be caused by his family situation or her family situation. It might be caused by his or her environment, and their environment is one of that is just not a healthy environment, not a good environment to grow up in. And so, you know, I guess the biggest thing is like, I'm not saying don't be prepared to be violent or a protector, because I think you should be, but you've got to be very careful with it. You can't tip over into just being violent for violence sake,
No,
because
no. I mean, yeah, the Bible said that clearly. Like, violence is not okay. Like, it's not okay to be a violent man. But that's the point. And we're not talking violence either, honestly. Like, I don't think Mickler. I mean, I may be wrong. I don't think he actually calls out being violent. It's being prepared to go to that step. It's
mm,
being prepared to match the intensity of what you're getting dealt with, because you don't know what's going to happen.
mm,
You have to be ready for whatever.
yeah,
That's all.
yeah,
That's all. I'm in this chapter about. Yeah, I agree. The Lord says, "Don't be violent." I hate violent men. But I think those are people that openly, every day to day, that bullying, basically, they're being violent because they just want to be.
yeah, 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 and yeah, definitely not being violent for violence sake. And the thing is like, it's like if you're in the situation where you have an active shooter and you happen to have a weapon, and there are people that are needing your protection, then it's kind of like you got to do what you got to do. Like it's almost like like in my mind, it's almost like you can't not do your best to protect that person or protect those
So
people.
I'm gonna end my comments on this for this chapter. Kind of like to bring it back to just like where I'm trying to do with my boys themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a difference too. It's like men and women, the contrast between raising kids. So, if your son brings something to your wife and is like, "This happened," she's upset, she's visibly shaking, she wants to do something about it. I'm like, where I'm at the ballpark, or I'm at the field, and my son, Alex will bring something to me, and like he'll even be looking for that response from me too, that his mama would give him, and he'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
someone did this and this to me. I was like, okay, why did they do it to you? Were you doing something that they didn't like, or was it just out of the blue? What did you do to solve this situation? He's like, you're not gonna get mad and go over there. No, because that doesn't benefit you at all. Then you're just a tattletale and stuff like that. But what did you do wrong, or what did they do to you? And if it turns to something that needs my attention, I'll deal with it right then and there. But I don't know what it was. Some girl said, I think I joked about this. Some girl said like he was a Karen or something like that, Cause,
Mm.
but his comment to her was, "Your sister had a big head, so you're sitting there being a
Mm.
bully, and then you don't like it when they do it back to you." I was like, "So
Mm.
why am I going to get upset? Because you're being wrong, and then they return it in favor." That's kind of like what
Yeah.
it is. It's like, you know, so much we're up in arms about our kids that are like, "Oh, my kid's being treated unfairly," but was your kid in the right position? Was your kid somewhere where he needed to be? It's not just my kid's right automatically. It's understanding the situation, then acting appropriately. And that's kind of like the next one too. It's like your emotions. More often than
Mm.
not, you have to keep your emotions in check. Understand
Right.
the issues, then react. Just like being aware of where you are, what's going on around you, then you react accordingly to what you see.
Well, and the thing too is like always being mindful, because one of the thoughts that I've got, and not having children yet, but like, how am I going to teach? Because I think I was a bully back in like elementary school. Like I
You
always
still
tried to hang
bully
out
me.
with. Well, I mean that's just that's just you kind
Everybody in the room is laughing.
of. But the idea is like when you like when you're raising children, like teaching them what it is to be a bully and how not to be that. Like you want them to care about people, you want them to have empathy towards people, you want them to be empathetic and be caring and kind to people, but also you want them to be kind and let that kindness lead into where they are also willing to protect those who are being bullied. And so kind of teaching them along those lines. And I don't know, I guess it kind of like I grew out of being a bully. Because definitely in elementary school I would say like I was trying to be cool with the like hang out with the cool kids, even though I was like the fat kid. We're trying to be a cool kid, and then which meant kind of like fitting in and trying to bully other people. But then as I got older, it just, and I don't know what it was that clicked, but basically it was just more like I hate seeing bullies now. When I was in finally got back out of homeschooling and got into high school, like it wasn't okay. I'm just gonna hang out with the jocks and such. I'm actually gonna hang out with like everybody. I'm gonna do stuff with everybody. Oh no!
I
Are
don't
you
know if you
kidding
can hear
me?
me, but you froze on my end.
Crap. So, sorry about that. I ended up losing internet connection because my internet sucks at times here. I think it's just my computer. I think it's just my computer. It may not be the internet itself because,
Welcome to China.
well, it's no, it's not even that. I think it's just
I'm
the
joking.
product, but it could also be like I've got stuff downloaded onto my computer because where I work, they you have to have like a special programs downloaded, and it's just ever since I downloaded it, my Wi-Fi has been kind of on the fritz. My computer's Wi-Fi adapter has been on the fritz. It's been kind of weird. So I think I may have to just go in and delete all this stuff. But I got to purchase a mobile Wi-Fi. One that I can take around to different places with me. But anyway, so no, going back to this idea of like when I was a kid being a bully. There were you know
I don't ever remember you being a bully, honestly.
I mean, it would have happened when we were in elementary school in Texas. Like that's when I remember being a bully. Because again, I think I had glasses at the time, and I was a fat kid, and I wanted to kind of fit in with the cool kids. But then, like, fast forward to when we're done with homeschooling and actually in public school, I was with the jocks. I would spend time with the jocks, but I would also spend time with the band members. I would also spend time with the choir people. I would spend time with
Yeah, but
even
that's not the same. Like where we grew up, that wasn't like it was in other schools or what you see in the movies, where it's like there's Okay, I don't know if you can still hear me or not, but your thing's getting tiresome. It just cut out on me again.
Yeah, it cut out on me. So
Do we need to stop? Oh,
hold on.
well. Anyways, I'm gonna continue my monologue. Listen, it's not the same where we grew up versus where they grew up. Or what you see in the movies. It's basically it's basically that wasn't cut and dry up Wyoming because everybody was just so small groups of people. Nobody really cared if you did everything.
Yeah,
It's not like movies where like, hey, this is band, hey, this is jocks, hey, this is nerds, hey, this is sorority girls, future, whatever. I don't know.
yeah.
Anyways, it wasn't like that where we grew up. So I
I
can't say
guess,
that you were wrong for hanging out with multiple groups. Oh,
yeah. Like, I guess in that sense, like especially growing in like being in that small of a community where we went to high school, like there wasn't really that big of a divide between the jocks and the band kids. It wasn't such a huge difference. But even then, I still feel like there was a pretty decent difference. Like, because I remember spending time with the jocks, and the jocks were always like, oh, like, this cheerleader's this and that cheerleader's that. But then, like, the band kids were all like, oh, I want to go to this school in the future and I want to practice band in this time. And it wasn't, again, there were definitely different interests and different ideas and mindsets and feelings towards those different groups. But like, yeah, I guess it was a small enough community where it didn't make that big of a difference, but there was still some of that difference. And so yeah, yeah, I think it. So um, I guess like to kind of like end this is like kind of I want to see what how you kind of like relate to it, but like I'll tell you how like I relate to it. So one of the biggest things that I kind of like look back on when it comes to here in China is like first off, in my mind, the way that I kind of like relate this to me is that physically fit thing because I'm not there. Like, and I've always thought about if I'm physically fit, being able to balance many different things, being able to balance like life better, and not just handling life better, but also having more energy and being better mentally because I'm physically fit. And like that's always been a struggle for me, and like I've definitely got to start making that a priority in my life in order to not just protect, but also just make myself better. Period. Um, but kind of going into this like situational awareness and going and protecting it's a story of both like a highlight and a low light of my time in China when it comes to protecting people. I was coming out of a restaurant with a couple of Chinese friends of mine, actually Chinese students of mine, and we had just gotten done eating at a Western restaurant in Hangzhou, and I was coming out, and I heard across the street, and I'm probably this is like maybe within my first like 6 months of being in China, and I'm accustomed to at this point in time I'm accustomed to how loud it can be in China because like most people there's if you want to talk on the phone, you may just yell on the phone, like out in public, but the people around you aren't going to say anything because again, there's this mindset of like I don't want to embarrass you, and so I was like, okay, that's fine, but so I'm used to the loudness of it. But there was this special kind of yelling that I heard, and I look across the street from where the restaurant we were leaving. I look across the street, and I see this guy yelling at this woman, and I'm like, this isn't good. So I cut across the street, because that's where the side we need to be on anyway. And I continue hearing them yelling, and then I see him push her. Now, in this moment, I don't have control of my violence. Like I would say that I kind of allowed myself to kind of just release every bit of animal instinct that I had. And so there were like bushes and grass between where I was and where they were. And so I just went running through the bushes and grass. I went and I grabbed this guy and I slammed him up against a car. Now, so the woman's on the ground, and so she's starting to get up. I slam him up against the car and I'm yelling at him, not in Chinese. I'm yelling at him in English. As a Chinese guy. But the thing is like in my mind, I was there. I was there to be violent for the sake of being violent, not because I was like there was a protection mindset, but it was like instead of just being protecting, it was like no, I want to be violent. This is a moment where I want to be violent, and so I scared
So
this guy.
you feel like you did wrong.
I feel like I did it the wrong way. I feel like I did good in preventing him from attacking her more, but I feel like I did it in the wrong way. Like there's a tactful way because it's not like he had a knife or a gun. She had a knife or a gun, so there
Did
wasn't
you
really
know
any.
that?
Uh, yes, because they didn't have it out.
But
Like,
you didn't know what he had.
well, no. But the thing is like even so, like it was just
Okay, let me just, I don't know the whole story, but let me just stop there. I don't feel like you did wrong because, okay, maybe you enjoyed the violence, which you might be wrong for. Maybe you enjoyed it a little too much, but you reacted. You took upon yourself the scene. Somebody's getting hurt. You reacted to it the best way you could. And, it solved, I don't know if it solved the situation, but it definitely stopped what was going on right then and there. Now, whether or not you enjoyed it or not and you feel guilty about it, that's a different story. But you didn't act wrong for it, in my opinion.
I would say the moment where I acted wrong, I would say getting in between them is where I was in the right, and I would do it in a heartbeat again and again and again and again.
But that's my
I would
point.
say
If you just step in the middle of them, okay, he's already acted violently towards somebody. If you step in the middle of them, then you don't know where it goes from there. And that's what I'm saying to you. You didn't know
no.
he had a gun. You didn't know if he had a knife. You didn't know what he had. So you're just putting yourself in danger at that point. You're putting yourself in that situation. Granted, he could have done something more to you than when you grabbed him, but that's the point. You reacted instantaneously and you took it upon yourself. And that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not going to give you the chance to just stand there. Hey, don't do that, because then he hits me, and then where does that leave me? You know what I mean?
I mean, I get that, and maybe to an extent, like maybe going and grabbing him and getting him away from her would have been better. But I mean, the issue comes from like or like even like pushing him up against the car. That would be fine, but I was in full rage mode, like full anger mode, full like I'm going to teach this guy a lesson because I'm bigger than he is. I mean, that was the thing too. Is like I'm a huge American versus a small Chinese guy, and like it was more of just me like overly uh dominating him instead of just grab him, put him up against the car, and being like, "You can't be doing this. Like, don't do this." It was more of like, "I'm going to put him up against the car. I'm going to be yelling at him," and then I didn't like punch him in the face, but I had his shirt and I kept like smacking his face with my fist, you know, like doing that to kind of and like even in that particular case, because the thing is like you can being situationally aware. So I took I took that and being situationally aware, I took that and I like wasn't when he as soon as I grabbed him, he became incredibly docile, like no longer aggressive. And so I should have at that moment been like, okay, this is this is good. Like he's calm, we're good to go. That kind of thing. So my brother is saying that we need to wrap it up. He was really gentle and he decided to type it into our Google Docs and then he blew it up. So for everybody that's been watching, thank you for watching. For everyone who's listening, thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you can.
Uh,
If you, I'm gonna try and do this. If you go to this video, you'll see our other videos on sovereignty. If you go to this video, this will be our most recent video on the chapter 3 of sovereignty. So this is going to be the list, and then this over here is going to be the most recent video. So thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave us some comments. Leave us a like, and we will catch you next time.